Time travel. Okay. Time travel in this movie, very simple, like you said. I think I only have 2 nitpicks with it. So movie tells us that the rules are you can't go back further than when you were born, only to places that you remember, go to a dark room, clench your fists, and imagine where you want to be. The additional rule later that we get is you can go beyond someone else's birth, but if you do, you will change the outcomes of the birth, which, again, I think that's a good limitation. I think all the limitations are pretty good. There are things about this time travel mechanism that, like, raise a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. The first one for me is, so unlike the Harry Potter time turner, you do pop into existence, but, like, you can make the time turner thing work, right? Like, as long as, like, you're not in the same spot as you were when you pop in and out. Whereas, like, this one, so you appear geographically in the same closet or dark space that you're in, right? But, like, you're taking the place of a you that's already there. So does that you just, like, get deleted?
Right.
And, like, everyone, like, you're in mid-conversation with somebody and, like, you're just gone and everyone's like,
right.
Did anyone else just see Tim blink out of existence?
Right. Exactly. This is a huge plot problem, a huge problem with the time travel mechanic. And this is what a lot of, like, critics back when this movie came out had issues with. Because, like, science-wise, time travel-wise and science-wise, this film does not try to explain that part of it. It's like, this is a romantic comedy. We're throwing in some time travel. If you think about it too seriously, you're going to ruin the message for yourself. However, we're going to talk about it seriously because this is the point of this particular episode and time travel draft. So the mechanics are atrocious in this film because you literally are going to, you have to go, like, you can travel back in time, but you will show up wherever you started from. So if you are in the future or in your present and you are in a cupboard and you travel back in time, you will end up in that cupboard in the past, which means, like you said, your other existence in that timeline just disappears. Right. So that is a huge time travel plot hole. Like that really ends the conversation on, like, how is the time travel mechanic in this movie? Well, unfortunately, it's awful because it just doesn't work. There's no explanation. And then furthermore, when you go back to that cupboard to then time travel back to your present, which really becomes your future. So when they say at the beginning of the film that you can't time travel to the future, that's kind of bullshit too, because the second you time travel back to the past, your past becomes your present, and then your
that was a really
future.
Good science argument.
So, like,
right,
it's really all wrong if we nitpick.
Okay,
and it's not even a nitpick because it's a big problem. So.
You just made me so excited because you're right. Okay, you're so right, and it's okay. So to, like, break that down even, like, no, not simpler. You broke it down greatly. But to, like, reference a time travel movie that we are going to go over at some point during the series, Bruce Banner in Avengers Endgame points out that if you were to go back into the past, that's become your new present, and that which you left behind in what was the present is now going to be your new future in this new timeline that you're creating, which is why, like, time travel itself, like, is weird and doesn't make sense. So you're right. They do travel forward in time. They do travel into the future, which contradicts exactly what he said. Which, like, I feel like that's simple enough to, like, avoid. Just don't have a return point, right? Like, just have them live out the rest of their life. But I guess there are certain things in the plot that they can't do if they do that.
Right, and then you're just reliving your life over and over again until you get it right. But you can never get it right because there's always going to be something that you want to change. Yeah. And this, which ends up being a whole point of the movie. It's like you have to learn to live with some of the things that are going to happen to you because it makes you who you are, basically, right? It's just like, yeah. But the time travel portion, so many problems.
It's to the point,
but it's fun. It's supposed to be fun, right? It's not.
Oh, yeah. This does not ruin the movie at all.
Of course not. You're right.
Right. but like it's to the point where like this isn't even time travel, like what they're doing. Like they're calling it time travel to like keep it simple, right? But like it's not
Right.
time travel. What they're doing is they're world line hopping, right? Like they're hopping
Yeah.
to a world line where whatever they did before hasn't happened yet, and they can create like a new timeline, right? Like that old timeline still exists. They just jumped away from it, and now they're like
Right.
in this one, and then they return to the present point of that timeline that they
Yeah.
just jumped into. Right? It's a totally different dimension that they just hopped into.
Right. We should make a movie about all the timelines that they left behind in this film.
So many, so
Can you
many
imagine?
timelines just abandoned.
Can you imagine an about time sequel?
What a
that is
great-
just all the abandoned timelines.
That's a perfect title for a YouTube video that we should absolutely waste our time doing. That's a great
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
The about time sequel you didn't ask for, but that you need.
about time.
about time.
There's actually so in thinking of the concept of time travel in this movie, like, which again, like I'm sticking with the thought here, world line hopping. There's do you watch Rick and Morty at all?
No.
Okay, there's a Rick and Morty episode that is sort of, it's not like about time at all, but like it's about what we're talking about. So for the record, in the first season, Rick has told us he will never do time travel. He doesn't like time travel, right? He says it's BS. Anyway, there's an episode in like the fourth season or so where Morty begs Rick to give him a do-over button, which is what this movie is, right? Like,
Yeah,
give him a
right.
button in which like he can. It's the idea of like you're playing a video game, right? And right before you fight the boss, you save your game, and then you go fight the boss. You get killed, but then you just return to the last place you saved, right? That's what Rick makes him. He makes him like a do-over button that allows you to save in a spot, right? So Morty uses this throughout the entire episode in like many, many different ways. And the twist is at the end, we find out that it's not a do-over button, that it's not a time travel button, because again, Rick doesn't do time travel, and that what it actually is, it's a button that sends Morty to another dimension where he wanted to be, like in that place in time, and kills the Morty in that dimension so that he can live that Morty's life in the way that he would have wanted to in that timeline. And he's killed countless Mortys in doing
Oh my God.
this. It's an amazing episode.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I would like to imagine he's killed lots of Tims. Lots of Tims have died
yeah.
in this movie.
What a sequel that would be. Unbelievable. It's no longer a romantic comedy. It's a horror film.
Yeah, dude, he's a serial killer.
Oh my goodness. It's so interesting.
There's one more error that I wanted to talk about. It's a rather quick one, and it's one I didn't remember until watching this movie again with you in this experiment. The fluidity in which you remember the changes of a timeline is not consistent. And again, it's done for dramatic purposes. So when we bring Kit Kat back in time to prevent her from dating this really toxic, horrible dude, they come back into the present, and Kit Kat has all of these new memories of this new guy in her life after all these years. And she remembers it almost instantly as they're standing in the cupboard. However, Tim doesn't seem to know the changes that have happened in his life, such as he has a son now, not a daughter.
Right. This is
Yeah.
a great point.
Yeah. Again, it's done for dramatic purposes, and it is a really great reveal, but it's not consistent. It's a problem with
Yeah.
the time travel in this movie.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, great point. I have nothing else to say on that. That's
I
a
also
great
have
point.
nothing
Yeah.
else to say on that. I'm just pointing at it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else on the time travel front. I think I got like everything out of
Yeah, I mean,
off
like,
my
it's
like what I was thinking.
it's a simple enough concept, and it's I think we pointed
Simple.
out its flaws,
Yeah.
right?
Simple, works for the movie, has flaws, like for sure, but it's not the kind of movie where you're supposed to like. It's not the kind of movie that's supposed to have strict time travel laws to get you to like the resolve of the film, right? And that part of the reason is because there's not like huge conflict in the film. It's just about life, and the conflict is that time travel. Actually, the conflict of the film is that you can time travel, which makes it more complicated in some instances by not having to deal with it in the moment. So